Decepticons, attack!
Hey everyone, Soundwave here. Today we'll be taking a look at the LEGO Star Wars set 75409 UCS Jango Fett's Slave 1. So, this released in 2025. This set comes with 2,970 pieces, recommended for ages 18 plus, and has a retail price of $300. So, as we take a look at the front of the box, we have a very nice majestic image of the Jango Fett Slave 1, not as majestic as the Boba Fett Slave 1. And you can see Boba Fett and Jango Fett up there in the cockpit. On the side of the box we have another really good image of the Jango Fett's Slave 1, LEGO Star Wars Ultimate Collector Series. On this side of the box you just have Jango Fett's Slave 1 in a different language. On the top we have, again, another language for Jango Fett's Slave 1. Got Jango and Boba. There's a little wedge piece down there. And on the back of the box, just shows off all of the features of the Jango Fett's Slave 1. And that's basically it for the box. Starting off with the minifigures, we are going to start off with, I would say, the weakest minifigure in this entire set. It would be Boba Fett. And he looks alright, but yeah, I gotta agree with the majority on this, that the hairpiece just doesn't really look that good. It's not really the best hairpiece to have for Boba Fett. I think the previous hairpieces would work way better on him. It has no resemblance at all to Daniel Logan in the Attack of the Clones movie, but printing wise, he's decent. Like, he's got some decent print detailing, and then he's just got a stoic alternate facial expression there. And here is Jango Fett himself in all of his glory, and he looks spectacular. I love all of the silver detailing, all of the gunmetal gray detailing. It looks super, super nice. And the new rangefinder, just chef's kiss right there. That new rangefinder. Oh, it looks splendid. And let's take a closer look at this helmet, because this is probably the best Jango Fett helmet that we have ever gotten. Oh my gosh, this thing just looks so nice. Yeah, if you don't care about Boba Fett, you at least got to get this set for Jango Fett. And yes, and he does come with an alternate hairpiece, and if that does not look like Tamora Morrison, I do not know what does, because that's basically him right there. And he just has an angry facial expression on the back. I do see some people complaining about the jetpack. My stance, it's not the silver jetpack that we've gotten on previous Jangos, but I think it looks nice because it matches up with the gunmetal gray torso. Now if the torso was silver, then I would have had a problem with the jetpack. But as it stands, I don't have a problem with the jetpack because it matches up with his gunmetal gray torso. So, let's get down to the Slave 1. Alright, but before we take a look at the Slave 1, we shall first take a look at the stand here. And it is a different stand than the one that comes with the Boba Fett version. And yes, the stands will only work for their respective ships. No, they are not cross-compatible or anything, so you can't have the Boba Fett Slave 1 stand holding up the Jango Fett Slave 1 stand, holding up the Jango Fett Slave 1, and you can't have the Jango Fett Slave 1 stand holding up the Boba Fett Slave 1. It's just not going to work. But it's a very nice stand. It's a solid build for the most part, and we do got the nice printed plaque, which unfortunately has Jango Fett's starship, not Slave 1. But I don't care. I'm calling it the Slave 1 because it is the Slave 1. It is a Slave 1, darn it. Alright, and then we have the information which is follows. Star Wars, Jango Fett's Slave 1, manufacturer, Quad Drive Yards, model, Fire Spray 31 Class Patrol and Attack Craft, length 21.5 meters, engines, F-31 drive engines, hyperdrive, modified class 1.0, max acceleration, 2,700 Gs, weapons, twin blaster cannons, rapid firing laser cannons, concussion missile launchers, mine layer, void 7 seismic charges, and capacity 1 pilot, 1 co-pilot, 6 prisoners, 3 passengers, and 40 metric tons of cargo. And that's basically it for the stand. And here we have Jango Fett Slave 1 in all of its glory, and it is a solid build. The Boba Fett Slave 1 was solid too, but this thing is an absolute brick. Like, I can pick this thing up from the tail and it will hold together. That is how solid this thing is. It is an absolute brick. And detailing wise, it has a lot going for it. This section right here with the wings is nicely greebled. The wings are nicely greebled. Got this nice smooth this smooth bottom section right here, which is a contrast to the brick built bottom section of the Boba Fett Slave 1. This one is just nice and smooth. Got the nice smooth top. Got the 2 blaster cannons there, which do rotate in unison. I forgot to show that off on the Boba Fett version, but these do rotate in unison as well. Got the boarding hatch there. And you got the cockpit, and I'll talk more about the cockpit later. But yeah, it is just a wonderfully put together model. As far as features in landed mode are concerned, you can have your, just like with the Boba Fett Slave 1, you can have your minifigures posed up on the top there as well. And you got the boarding ramp, which is, now you would think it's this, like, on first glance, you would think it has the same functionality as the Boba Fett version, where this thing flips up and there's a clip underneath where you can store a carbonite piece. But no, this is actually way different and actually a lot cooler than the Boba Fett version. What you do is you press down on this section and it will fold down, and at the same time the boarding hatch opens, and that is wicked cool. I love how that function works so seamlessly, and to close it up you can just push that back. It's like I could sit here and just do this for hours. It is such a satisfying function there. And like with Boba Fett's Slave 1, it does have the rear hatch that can open up if you do manage to get your minifigures lost inside the cargo hold. And this is what I wanted to talk about when I said earlier in the Boba Fett review. This right here is the cleanest Lego Slave 1 underside I have ever seen, and I love it. This is just the cleanest underside I've ever seen. It's beautifully detailed. There's barely any gaps or exposed miscellaneous colors, and it just looks so good. And the underside does have a pretty dope feature that I will get into later. But yeah, I just want to give you a second to appreciate all this nice molded, well, not molded detailing, sorry, I'm in Transformers review mode, all of this nice brick-built detailing here. Oh, like engine fell off. Let me fix that. There we go, fixed it. That's my one gripe about this underside that the Boba Fett Slave 1 does slightly better, is that the engines don't hold on as securely as they should. And when I said this is the cleanest Slave 1 underside, I mean it. And this is probably going to be tough to show, but I'm going to try my best. I'm going to bring in the Boba Fett version right here. Yeah, you can see a stark contrast. You can definitely see how much cleaner the Jango Fett's Slave 1 underside is compared to the Boba Fett Slave 1 underside. Honestly, I feel like Lego could have done a slightly better job with this, but as it stands right now, it's not that bad. And now to mount your Jango Fett Slave 1 to the display stand, it is quite different from the Boba Fett version. So whereas the Boba Fett version had these 2 prongs on the top, you just have these 2 hooks like towards the top, which will fit in to these 2 slots right here. So you just put it in and then slide it up, and there we have Jango Fett's Slave 1 mounted onto the display stand. And as before, I'm going to set this thing on the table because it is pretty heavy. Like, both of those Slave 1s are pretty heavy models. And here we have Jango Fett's Slave 1 mounted to the stand there. And as I said in the Boba Fett review, it looks majestic on the display stand. Like, both of these slave ones just look so majestic on their display stands. And just like with the Boba Fett slave one, the wings do rotate with gravity and they rotate in unison, but the mechanism on the inside is actually slightly more complex than the mechanism on the inside of the Boba Fett slave one. And I don't know if I don't know if I'm going to show that or not, but yeah, it's a much more complex mechanism on this one than this one. And there is the cockpit right in there. And speaking of the cockpit, let's take a good look at the inside of the cockpit. Taking the windscreen off of the Jango Fett slave one is actually way easier than the Boba Fett slave one, because instead of just Technic pins, it's only held on by 4 little studs right there. And there you have the fully exposed cockpit. And definitely a way more lore accurate cockpit when compared to the Boba Fett slave one. The Boba Fett slave one, you just had the 1 seat, whereas this one you have the accurate number of seats there in the cockpit. But that does come with the sacrifice of the cockpit not being able to rotate at all with the wings, which is a necessary sacrifice to get this more accurate cockpit, but it's kind of a letdown. And as far as canopy pieces go, I was surprised to learn that the Boba Fett slave one canopy piece is actually smaller than the Jango Fett slave one canopy piece. I don't know why, but I initially thought that they were the same exact size. But in order to get your minifigures inside the cockpit, this cockpit can seat a total of 5 minifigures. We're gonna have to take this section out. So yep, the cockpit seat is a separate assembly that can slide out of the ship, and you do get some really nice looking control screens there, which unfortunately are stickered. Those were annoying to put on, but not as annoying as some other stickers that were to put on. Like the stickers on the canopy piece were kind of annoying to put on, as well as the seismic charge, but I'll get into that later. And all 3 of these seats do recline back. So to get your minifigures seated in there, what you're going to want to do, what I like to do is I like to take off Jango Fett's helmet, remove his jetpack, there we go, put his hair on, and then remove the blasters there. And then set those off to the side. And then you can just place him in there on a couple studs, and he will just sit in there nice and secure. And then you can just recline this back up. And then as for Boba Fett, you're going to want to carefully feed him through, so that way his arm doesn't like jam into anything, and he'll just sit in there like that. And then as far as the helmet, so the other accessories do have a place to store on the inside, but not the helmet. So what I like to do is I just like to plop the helmet in there and then just recline that forward to hold it in place. And first things first, before we get the cockpit in there, you're going to want to take this section out, which will expose this little back to tank. And what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to take the jetpack, plug it onto there. Then you're going to want to take the blasters there, and they will secure into these 2 clips. Well, you actually want to do the blasters first and then the jetpack, my bad. So you're just going to make sure those clip into place like that. And then you can just take the jetpack, and sometimes that likes to fall off. Take the jetpack, plug it onto there, and I like to have the blasters grip the jetpack to hold it in place. And then this panel can just go over the top there. And then you can take the cockpit and just slide it in there. And then take the canopy and just close it up. And there you have your figures seated in the cockpit there. And when I said that the underside had one more feature to show off, I was not kidding. Because if you take these 2 panels and take them off and move them apart, you will reveal my favorite addition to this new slave one. You get a seismic charge, which for those of you who don't know what this is, the seismic charge is a weapon that is responsible for possibly the coolest sound effect in Star Wars history right here. Yeah, and this thing is just sweet looking, but one of the main gripes I have with this feature is I kind of wish that these doors would have been on a slider. And also, this seismic charge uses all stickered parts. The center piece was like, it was fine, like I didn't have trouble with those. It was these side pieces here which are comprised of two different stickers that you have to wrap around this dome piece, and it was just super annoying to put on. Yeah. And unfortunately there is no like function to actually launch the seismic charge from the ship. It just pegs in to the back there. And that is how, and then it'll just peg into the back there. Like so you gotta finagle it a bit. It'll just peg into the back there, and then you can close up the hatch behind it. For size comparisons, I'm only gonna do one, but it's the most important size comparison that I could ever do. Here we have Boba and Jango's slave ones side by side, and oh lord, they look so good together. They look so good together, and I'm definitely gonna have them like displayed alongside each other here in the collection. So that is my review of the UCS Jango Fett Slave One, and it is a definite improvement in some areas over the Boba Fett version. But I gotta give some credit to the Boba Fett version. It does do some things a lot better, in my opinion, than this does. For example, like the fold-out missile doors on the Boba Fett version. Kind of wish Jango's could have had those, as well as the rotating cockpit. That would have been a nice feature to see, like, brought back into the Jango Fett version. But the main thing that this ship does better than the Boba Fett version is the underside. This is such a clean underside. I don't know why. I don't know what LEGO was thinking with that old underside of the Boba Fett Slave One. It just looks terrible compared to this. But both are solid models. I will give them that. So that was my review of the UCS Jango Fett's Slave One, and I will see you in the next video.